This episode, we have Billie Slade with us. And so I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and Billie is in, I want to say Brattleboro, Vermont. Is it Brattleboro?
Dummerston,
Dummerston.
Vermont.
It's right, okay, so it's near. I'm sorry, I should have known
Okay. We share a zip code. It's fine.
that. Okay. So Billie, I got to know Billie last summer when I went to Green Mountain Teachers Camp for the first time. But I knew you like online before that, in some different groups about early childhood. So I certainly want to talk about Green Mountain Teachers Camp. But I just thought initially it would be great to know a bit about just your work in early childhood. Like, how did you come to be in the field of early childhood?
Okay. Well, I originally set out to be a journalist and an anthropologist. And after a few months of college, I pretty quickly figured out that I really wanted to work with kids. I'd been a camp counselor. I was the oldest in a big family, and I really missed being with kids when I was away at college. So I switched to early childhood. And this was in 1976, way back when, and went to the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. Did student teaching with some wonderful supervising teachers, and really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed being with kids. I was in the public school setting for a while, and then worked at a private nursery school. And then I had my first child, and I really wanted to be home with him. And so I lasted about 4 months in me teaching and leaving him with somebody else every day, and then decided I was going to open my own program. So I opened a licensed family child care program in 1980 and 81, and for 31 years I did that work, and with one little break, with about a 9-month break in there. And what it did was enabled me to stay home with all of my children. I have 5 children and 4 grandchildren, so I was able to stay home with all of my children and still use my early childhood degree. And along about 1996 or 97, I was really tired. I'd been doing this work for about 15 years, and my own children were all going to be in school all day, and I just felt like it was time to explore other options. So I went to one last conference. It was the Save the Children conference down in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was going to go to workshops on options after I was done doing early childhood things, not doing family child care anymore. And I was looking for a workshop, couldn't find it. It was one of those big hotel, complexes with lots of rooms, ballrooms and stuff. And so finally I gave up, and I walked into the back of a room where a man was up in front playing the guitar and singing. And I sat down in the back row, and he was singing a song about coming home, and when you felt like you didn't have anything left to give, and that there would be another morning. And I just started to cry, and it was exactly what I needed to hear at that moment in my life. It just resonated with me. And eventually the workshop ended, and everybody packed up and left, and this man, who I'd never seen before, packed up his guitar and came to the back of the room and sat down next to me. And he looked at me and he said, "You're going to be okay," because it was obvious I'd been upset. And I kind of explained to him that I was burnt out. I was tired. I didn't know what my next chapter was going to bring, but I knew I didn't feel like I could do this work anymore, that I was just physically very tired from it. And he looked at me without knowing me at all, and he said, "You need to come to teachers camp." And I was like, "What is teachers camp?" And he said, "You just need to come." And he took my name and number, gave me his, and he said, "Let's keep in touch." And for 4 years, I saved pennies in a jar just based on that little conversation. I'd never met him before. I hadn't seen him since, but we did keep in touch. Every so often he'd check in and say, "How's the penny jar coming?" Because I told him that's what I was doing, was saving my change in a jar. And the closer I got, the more important it became to me to go. And so I would ask all my family and friends who were going to give me a birthday present, just give me money towards teachers camp. And it was very interesting, but just the promise of being with kindred spirits who would really understand what I believe was good for kids was enough to keep me from quitting. I was really close to going and working at Target, and after this conversation, I decided I could do it a little while longer, and then a little while became another year, and then another year, and so 4 years down the road, I finally had saved enough pennies in a jar, and I bought a plane ticket from Milwaukee, Wisconsin out to Seattle, and I went to teachers camp. And I got off the plane, and I was so naive. I had no idea where to go, what to do. I actually said to the traveler's aide there at the Seattle airport, "Can you tell me where the bus to teachers camp is?" And they looked at me like I was crazy. I had no idea. But I wandered down by the baggage and I saw this group of people laughing and talking, and they all had guitars and auto harps. And I thought, I wonder. And I went over and asked them, and sure enough, it was the teachers camp crowd that I'd been looking for. And so they let me ride with them. And it was a turning point in my life. It meant that I got to be with people who really wanted to have good conversations about the stuff that really matters for kids. And so that was in the year 2000. And I went for 11 years, and it was life changing for me. It's the reason I'm still a teacher today. About 8 years into it, Tom Hunter, who's the man who founded the camp along with Richard Schultz, died fairly quickly from a terrible disease. And they were going to cancel teachers camp. The people who ran it said, you know, we don't have the energy, the emotional energy to do it this year. And so myself and Kelly Matthews, also Wisconsin, we called up a few people and we said, we don't want to lose each other in addition to losing Tom. Let's carry this on. And so we still honored our plane tickets and got on. It was 2 weeks before camp started, this when he died. And so we went to Seattle anyway, and we went to the place that we'd already reserved for camp. And it was a really sad gathering because Tom wasn't there anymore. And it was a really joyful gathering because every one of us felt his spirit there. And one of the things he had been saying when he was very ill was just keep it going, keep it going. And that meant different things for different people. But for us, it meant that teachers camp needed to keep going on. And so we ran it for a couple more years out there in Seattle, and then I had a job offer to move to Vermont, where I'm originally from, and to run the camp I grew up at when I was a little girl, and that was in 2012. And so I moved back here to Vermont, and pretty quickly figured out that planes fly both ways, and why couldn't we have teachers camp in Vermont? And so we started offering it here, and each year it's grown bigger, and people have come from all over the place: Canada, Alaska, New Mexico, California, Arizona, and everywhere in between. And I'm really excited for this year. I think it's going to be a wonderful year. The people we choose to be presenters aren't necessarily, they're not all teachers, but they have a real handle on what it means to be human. And so the conversations are more about the humanity we all share instead of what grade we teach or what setting we teach in. And I think that's what makes it work for people and makes it meaningful.
I agree with you. It was a tremendously different type of event that I had experienced. I think I'm really very fortunate when I think of all the conferences that I've gone to. Certainly, one thing that people put on Facebook, because I type, going to this conference or going to this conference or
Right.
whatever, and a lot of people in the field will say like, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to live through you because you go to so many events, and how do you get to go to so many events?" And I can't remember if I told you, but I know that you know that my dad helped me to start the program that I operate in Halifax. And my dad always said that the day that he let me sign the checks and I would be completely in control of the program, he said, 6 months after that date, your program will cease to exist because no one spends money like you do, Heather. So I miss him very dearly, but he has been gone 3 years and we are still operational. But I constantly reinvest every penny back into the program, and I really believe that professional development for both myself and the team is critical. Like, we always try to learn more. And so when I think on the 20 years of conferences, a lot of the conferences I've gone to have been really quite different ones, Certainly here in Halifax, there are like some workshops offered at the early childhood colleges that are usually like, maybe an hour and a half on an evening, or there might be some full day ones. And they have become much more involved and evolved over the time, because back when I first started, the workshops were like, how to make your circle time more exciting, or how
Yeah.
to make these certain puppets, or
Landlord activities. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
flannel board activities, exactly. So it's changed a lot. So we have some really great ones here in Halifax now and in Nova Scotia. We also have we have an annual one in June, and a couple years ago, our professional association now has one in June, and they have one every October as well, which is a mental health conference. So it has evolved. But the ones that I travel to are quite different, and I think I must gravitate towards the different ones. So I know that that last year when I went to Green Mountain Teachers Camp for the first time, I went to Uncon right after that, and they were both very different. The one that Bev Boz and Michael Lehman, as well as Tom Hunter, always had out in California, it was also very different than a lot of them. And you and I both just recently were together at the pep rally in Adamstown, and that was a very unique experience because a lot of the people who were there sort of already had a relationship online. So it
That was
was
very, yeah.
it's I'm
It was
still
different
I'm
meeting people for the first time that
I'm
you
still
had all these
processing it.
conversations. I
Yeah.
agree.
It was
I,
very different. It was like you were already a community, but it was the
mhm.
first time you were together, and so for me, Green Mountain Teachers Camp was, I don't know, like I think I was scared. I think I was. I don't think I thought about being scared, but I think I was scared. Um, I didn't. I didn't really know anybody. Gail, I knew a little bit. Like I knew her a little bit from having seen her at a conference in California, but I was scared. And then I don't know. I'm having a hard time putting it in words. I talked about it on the podcast one time with Keisha, but it was such tremendous personal growth as well. Like I know that it's about most of the people there are teachers, and it's about working with children, but it just felt more like personal growth and nurturing you as an individual and taking
Yes.
care, yeah, and so that then you're able to go back and give your students and your colleagues what, because you're always emptying your own vessel, and it was like filling your vessel.
It's meant, I mean, I think you're right. We call it the intersection of professional development and personal renewal. And I really think that that's true, that it's meant to be something that's going to sustain you in the year ahead. It's not just a week of summer camp that's really fun and you meet lots of wonderful people and you send postcards to each other. Although it is those things, it's so much more than that because you do a lot of soul searching. I think about you on your hike to the waterfall, and you were really scared. I mean, that was a scary thing,
Yes.
and you were very brave, and you were able to get up and make light of it afterwards. But that was a growth thing right there, and I think some of the things that happen at teachers camp don't happen in traditional conferences. I think, the fact that we hire people to be music and art instigators so that they're coming to create those things and encourage other people to create those things, that's unusual. Even people who don't consider themselves artists or musicians can learn to play an instrument while they're here, or they can create something beautiful in the art barn and the treehouse type thing that they didn't know they were capable of doing. And that's really what the whole event is about, is challenging people to maybe go outside of their personal boundaries and figure out what it is they might be capable of. Have conversations with people that are very different than them. And I like the pace of it. I like the fact that there's lots of time for processing things. There's lots of time for reflection. I don't know if you, in the podcast, if you talked about this or not, but we have presenters in the morning, but then the afternoons are all focus groups. That's when people get to figure out what it is they came for, what it is they want to have conversations about. And it might be taking a nap in a hammock. It might be sitting on the porch and talking about how the child you were shows up in your work today. It might be hiking to the waterfall. And all of those things are equally valid choices. No one's going to say to you, you should do this or you should do that. We always have writing. That's always an option. We call it the writers and the non-writers group, where people get to come together and figure out humorous writing, poems, all sorts of different things if they want to do that. If they want to just have alone time, there's time built in for that. And I think that's different than a lot of conferences. Oftentimes the pace is so quick and you're just trying to take in as much information as you possibly can because you have limited time. In this case, we feel like the breathing is just as important as the taking in of information. And I think it enables you to integrate it more, to make it your own. I also like the fact that we have the option for children to come. I think
Mm.
it's really wonderful for people to be able to bring their kids to teachers camp, because for many people that's a stumbling block they can't get past. They can't leave their toddler or their 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, whatever, for a week. And this way they get to bring them, and those kids have a wonderful time in their own right. Not only are they doted on by all the adults in camp, but there's all sorts of wonderful things to do. We have a children's program, during the morning presentation. So the parents can be focusing on what they need to focus on, and the kids get to be having fun. So I think that's another way that it's a little bit different than traditional conferences. And I also like the fact that the community that happens during the course of teachers camp doesn't end on the last day of camp, that people do stay connected to each other, whether it's through Facebook or postcards or whatever. There's just lots of ways that people feel like this is a family, and by the time they come back the next summer, it's like Louise said from Ohio last year. She did a complete about face from when she first came in, and when she walked back into camp last summer, it was like welcome home, and she just cried because that's exactly where she felt she was. So it's a pretty magical thing, I think.
Well, when I first arrived, I'm trying to think. I think Corey, because I think it's so wonderful. You probably, I have no idea if people compliment you regularly. Maybe they do. I don't know. But if people don't tell you what an incredible coordinator of it you are, you need to know. Because, for example, last year, so Gail and I, well, we knew each other a little bit from other things. Certainly, so Gail and I didn't know, but because
Connecting
you,
with you.
yeah, you like to put people in the cabins together who have gone before with the newbies, and so then we wound up renting a car together with Corey as well, and so it was so neat because Corey has such a wonderful personality as well that she wants to sort of take care of people as well. So in the car, as we pulled up and arrived, Corey said from the back seat, I heard her say, "Oh, get ready to be hugged." So we went and we got out of the car, and Sean immediately came and started hugging us. And I love hugs and I give hugs, but I had been nervous, and I think if my face expressed that I was like, whoa, taken aback a bit. But I remember now Corey saying, "Get ready to be hugged," because the sense of community is so, I don't want to say overwhelming because that might sound scary, but it's such a rich sense of community that the minute you arrive, it's around you. It's almost like before people are physically hugging you, the environment is hugging you. It's welcoming you right in.
Exactly. It's the whole idea of extravagant welcome. And something that's unusual about it is that even though it is a very close community, it's not an exclusive community. You can be new and feel a part of things from the minute you get out of your car, which is
Yes.
unusual. When people have been to conferences year after year together, sometimes it can feel very different to be on the outside and be the new person. And I think that's something unique about this conference, that there is nobody who's on the outside. People
Mm.
are welcomed in from the time they get there, or even before. Yeah, I think you're right. I do put a lot of thought into who rooms with who and why there's welcome signs on the door and all of that. And I'm incredibly grateful that so many people have stepped forward this year and said, I can help with this and I can help with this, because it's not a one person job. It's really
No.
wonderful to have this team of people for whom this is an important event. It's something that really can make or break their teaching year. And so they are willing to step in and make sure that this can happen year after year. And I'm very grateful for that.
And the presentations in the morning really, really get you thinking and get your mind percolating. And with regards to what you said about the schedule, the fact that you have a lot of time to process, it is the only conference I've ever been to that actually has that built in. Because every conference, I don't know, I'm going to compare it to Disney World, other conferences to Disney World. I don't know if you've ever gone to Disney World, but if anyone takes a vacation in Disney World, it's a vacation, but it's not, because it's like go, 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 and you need a vacation afterwards. And that's what a lot of conferences are.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like, you don't have time to think about which workshop or seminar you were at or whatever. You're processing it, like you're just losing your mind. But this, you get to actually think as you're experiencing, and it's such a beautiful, rich, unique thing that you're, Like, I'm still thinking about it a year later, so I'm still processing it, but you had that opportunity during it. And the focus groups are, like you said, there's such a diverse range. Like, sometimes people were sitting out talking. It was a continued discussion of what the presentations had been, or it might be writing, or it might be like you're saying in the art barn. I know that, for me, I learned how to felt. I'm still working on learning how to felt, but I was, getting a lot of my stress from the year out in felting because I was like stabbing the felt. And I was
Yep.
thinking of, because I have a rewarding job. I love working with children and families and other ECEs. But there were things that, I don't, maybe I was even decompressing from 25 years of ECE. I don't know, because I was like, somebody had come to the door of the art barn and said, what is this all about? I don't know what felting is. And I was like, it's amazing. Look, watch. Stab, 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 stab.
And if I remember right, you were sitting next to Robin, who's also director of a big center. And so, you have those conversations happening while you're creating art or while you're learning to play the ukulele or whatever. And that's what bonds people, is sharing meals together, lingering over dinner. I always felt with teachers camp, I never wanted to waste a walk up the hill. Like, never walked up by myself. I always looked around to find somebody to walk with, because those conversations that happened in that short time were the basis for relationships that build
Yes.
very, very quickly.
Yes, and the
Yeah, it's a
the meals are
wonderful thing.
amazing. The meals are amazing. The singing, the campfire, but without a doubt, the last thing that we should talk about, you're right, is I see the hike to the waterfall as as for me, it's an analogy for the entire experience. Because I, for me, it's an analogy of my career. It's an analogy of each year, sort of stepping out, checking your footing. Um, and what I had pictured in my mind when people described how to get to the waterfall didn't look anything like what it looked like. like, yeah, so I mean, some people had said to me, well, how was a hike or a walk to a waterfall remotely a type of professional development? And I said, oh, it was probably one of the best workshops or seminars I've taken in my entire life, because uh, not only was it the experience itself and how it translated into every aspect of my work and my personal life, but the people with me. I mean, people behind me and how they offered to help me get my footing, people in front of me, and then Mallory was talking about the different types of plants, and I forget which one it was, that if your skin brushed up against this certain plant, that then it wasn't poison ivy, it was something that you would then be itchy or
Or
something,
something. Mhm.
right? And helping each other over like a log that was wet, and it just, it's not often that I'm speechless, but I can't actually articulate. I
I
can't
remember you
I
saying,
can't put it in
the
words.
night you got up and talked about your experience, you said something very telling. You said, "If I had known how challenging that would be, I would never have done it."
Yeah.
And in the next breath, you said, "And I'm so glad I didn't know, because I did it." So it
Yeah.
was just, the two things could both be true in the same instance.
Yes. And I can't wait to do it again this summer. Uh but I still have a tiny bit of nervousness, but mostly I want to like dance to the waterfall. I don't know if I can, cuz that the path isn't necessarily danceable, but I'm going to try. We'll
I
see.
know little Elsie who comes to camp. That's what she always says. It's very treacherous, but you can do it. That's her saying. It's
That's
very
right.
treacherous. So I
And
feel like it's a whole. I feel like teachers camp is a continuation of what we're doing at our regular camp. That happens the rest of the summer. Is that we're empowering people to believe in themselves and their ability to make a difference in the world. And that's true of children. That's true of teachers. That's true of human beings in general. If we can all carry that kind of sense of power into the world, what a different place it will be.
yes. And Oh God, that's so perfect what you just said. That's such a perfect phrase. And what Elsie said is it's so treacherous, but it's I mean that's what teaching is. Teaching is
That's
that
right.
way. You know, and
That's right.
maybe people don't realize that, but it's teaching is such a slippery slope. It really is. And it's worth it. I mean, teachers think it's worth it, but I mean, you have to rejuvenate yourself, and this is the perfect way to do it. So,
And sometimes you lose your footing, and there are people there to help you along the path.
hmm
That's the other metaphor that's good for it.
yeah.
So
So
good.
this year, quite the range of people coming. Very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward
Yes.
to. I know that the Facebook page has been listing all the presenters and all the different like a diverse range of approaches, and I'm so excited about it.
And they're all really wonderful people. I'm excited because I know them all. I've met them in different venues, and the workshops are very diverse. But the people themselves share this quality of um, being willing to be part of this community of learners. That's another thing that's different, I think, is that the people who come to be presenters commit to being part of the whole 5 day camp. They stay with us the entire time. They eat with us. They learn right along with us because they know that we all have a lot of wisdom to share with each other. It's not just experts coming in.
Mm, it's wonderful. Can't wait.
Mhm.
Well, I'm so excited to have had the opportunity for you to share your teaching experience, and I always love hearing about how you met Tom. Um,
And he's still very much a part of my life. I mean, his family makes sure that we have his music here every year. I talk to his family on a regular basis, and they are very happy with what we're doing. It's what he wanted was for us to keep it going, and that's what we're doing. So it's good. I can't wait
yes.
to see you.
Okay, I can't wait to see you either. Thank you so much, Billy. Thanks to
Thank you.
everybody who is watching our videos, and hopefully some of you will find your way to Green Mountain Teachers Camp. I'll make sure to put a link under this
Wonderful.
video to the
Great.
to, to the website. Okay, thanks
Yay.
everybody.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. I'm just turning it off. I'm
You sound like the Wicked Witch. You're melting.